this is Ashley, and today you can probably see I've got a new jacket. I have had this Arkham jacket from, well, technically Superior Fencing / Subfen. I'll get into that, but it's designed by Black Armory, or originally designed by Black Armory. I've had this jacket for a month. I've done a little bit of sparring with it along with a tournament. And so hopefully this will be a good opportunity for me to, having tested it out, give a little bit of a review, especially since I don't see too many reviews on this particular jacket. So hopefully this is helpful. Full disclosure, this is my first ever HEMA jacket, so I may not be the most experienced in comparing Spez jackets, for instance, or any other HEMA jackets. This is mostly what I've experienced with this, but hopefully you'll find it useful. Also, my little clip on my mic is missing, so that's why I have to be a little YouTuber holding a little microphone. So apologies for that. So there are some pretty cool things about this jacket. The biggest thing that anyone notices is that it has a massive collar. And I'm going to show you how it works momentarily, but it's really big and to the point where you actually tuck your mask bib inside the collar rather than having it hang over like a regular Spez jacket. I find, I'm still probably in the breaking in stage, but I find I can move pretty easily with a couple exceptions. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I absolutely love the color, having the black 4 sleeves and collar along with everything else being, I think royal blue specifically was what I chose. Really nice. It's nice and padded. Designed after, I want to say, 14th century English gambeson. So if that's something you're interested in, that's pretty cool. And this collar has 3 blade catchers. So you've got one here, one here, and then I can get it one on the side here. So that can be a good sort of sense of security if that's something that's important to you. So it has taken me some time to work out how to basically get everything on, and even still I don't have my full kit on. I've got my Spez trousers, but I don't have my knee or shin protections on. I also don't have my elbow or forearm protections. I won't for the remainder of this video just for simplicity's sake, but I'll try to put some of the other protection on. So let's see what we can do. Gonna take this off now. Apologies for any sudden movements. I think there are approximately 10 million spiders in the house and around the garden, so if I jump, that's why. So the first thing I'm going to put on is my gorget. And yes, I did say gorget. I know some people who have reviewed this jacket, for example, Matt Easton of Scala Gladiatoria, have said that with the way the Arkham is designed, you don't really need a gorget. And I'm guessing if you're doing internal light club sparring, that might be the case. But A lot of tournaments will still require a gorget, so that's why I'm mentioning it. And B, personally, I don't really feel comfortable sparring without a gorget regardless of how much protection I've got around the collar, so I'm just going to include it no matter what. Next is going to be the chest protector. See my video on how I modified my chest protector and how chest protectors are basically one size fits no one, especially if you have boobs. Next will be my Rig Lizard undergloves, and now it's going to get a little bit harder to pick up the mic, so we are going to see how this goes. And now I'm going to try to put the jacket on. as you might see, this actually has 2 zips, so it's going to be hopefully a little extra security. Usually what I do, kind of go then the second zip is always the hardest. Again, having a chest can be a problem. Okay, and so when I want to secure the collar, put it on like this, but actually I need to put the mask on. Now this one's a little tricky because I said that the bib goes underneath the collar. However, the back of it, as you can see hopefully here, is also pretty high, and since I have a regular Spez mask overlay, that I can't really tuck that under the Arkham collar, so I kind of need to do a weird sort of tuck up front and then tuck in back. So I will give that a try. And also, if you have long hair, this is definitely a jacket where I recommend putting hair up. Messy bun seems to be okay, but even still, I've been trying to wear either a bandana or some type of cap, but I'm still experimenting with that. But see what I can show. Okay, and now put my sparring gloves on. Alright, and I am good to go, mostly. It works well, I can move well, I can do it like this, this. Hopefully this will capture, but if not, I can try to ADR it later or something. Move here, that's fine. However, well, Ox is okay. Crossed Ox, not so much. So, if you like doing crossed Ox, it may be very difficult to do it in this particular jacket. But do like how comfortable it feels, really enjoying this, and I can still move quite a bit, even with the color, even with the overlay, although sometimes may need to master particular art of tucking it in. So now I'm going to try to remove at least my helmet or my mask, and as you can see, I'm definitely going to need to remove the sparring gloves for this and use my Rig Lizard undergloves. and I may need to put down the mic. But basically, and I have thoroughly gotten rid of my little bandana. Oh well, figure that out later. But got one here, and remove like this. So that is a potential disadvantage of this jacket, is that it is a little bit more of a faff to remove the mask. And so if you've been doing a lot of sparring, if you've been doing a tournament where you're sweating a lot, then that is something that you need to keep in mind. I imagine it'll probably get easier as I go along. I'm already finding it's somewhat getting easier now that I'm about a month into having this jacket, but it is still something to note. And another thing that is notable is that this jacket does feel very warm. Now again, this is my first ever HEMA jacket, so I'm not quite sure how much of this is the Arkham jacket itself and how much of it is just, it's a HEMA jacket, you're gonna get warm after a while. But while the upside is that this is nice and padded, and so even though it's 350 Newton, feels pretty well protective. The downside is that I didn't see any particular pockets, so one of my friends lent me their Spez jacket. I don't remember what Spez, I'll try to put it up somewhere, but just for comparison purposes. However, I do believe most Spez jackets, I know certainly my Spez trousers, have little pockets so that you can either remove padding or add padding to your desire, and at least as far as I can tell, there isn't anything like that for the Arkham. It's pretty much all sewn in, but it's still pretty nice. And I know, of course, the downside of having the two zips is that if you want to just unzip just a little bit, just to get a little air, that's a bit more of a hassle to do. So may look kind of like this. Those are just a few bits about the Arkham jacket in particular. Now, even though I said this is my first HEMA jacket and I don't have a ton of comparison, I've tried on my friend's old Spez jacket a couple times. Granted, I haven't sparred with it, so it's not a perfect comparison. Plus, this one is a custom, although sleeves are still a little long, but that's beside the point. Whereas the Spez is a standard men's XL, so it's already going to be very big for me in other areas. But just so you can see, whatever I do, my Spez trouser suspenders always get so loose. I need to work on that. Okay, already, just from trying on the Spez jacket versus the Arkham jacket, this jacket does feel lighter, and it's an 800 Newton, whereas that one is a 350 Newton, but it's heavier, presumably because there's a lot more padding. So If you are somebody who overheats, like even more than a regular HEMA fencer, then that is something to consider when you are getting a jacket, whether it's your first one, just a replacement, what have you. Second, this neck is also, this collar is a little bit closer to the neck, which could be nice if the Arkham collar feels a little bit too large. I mean, let's just see. Yep, so it's not that high, but either one will sort of make you feel like you're being choked when you've got the gorget on. But the gorget is important. So if we go try and put the mask on. Yeah, again, this jacket is objectively too big for me in areas, so it's not going to be a perfect comparison, but to show I can move arms okay, but the overall fabric does feel a little stiffer. Granted, I don't know how much this was used beforehand, so maybe it is still needs to be broken in a bit. Moving. So, alright. Yeah, so a little bit increased mobility around the neck area, but also not as much compared to the Arkham, so that's quite interesting. Alright, let's see if we can get this sucker off. Yeah, and so that at least is one advantage of the Spez, is that you can just whip the mask off, which is very important when you've got long bouts or tournaments where you just need a drink of water right now. But not to say that it's, necessarily a deal breaker for some, but it may be for others. So again, it's just something to keep in mind if you do need to take off your helmet relatively frequently. Alright, let's see if I can get back to my Arkham. So much Velcro, I swear. Oh, also, if you see random white marks around, don't be alarmed. It's just chalk. Don't ask questions. Alright, so again, not a perfect comparison since this is custom size, the Spez isn't. I've been using this for sparring in a tournament that I've only worn a few times and never in a sparring situation. But I do hope that it helps a little bit, just in case. Now, you can tell by this little emblem that the Arkham jacket, I think, had the Arkham Ladies 350 Newton. I'll see if I can find the exact title somewhere. Now, it was created by Black Armory, but Black Armory has authorized Superior Fencing, or Subfen, to manufacture Arkham jackets, and so that is actually where I got this jacket because a bunch of members in our club were doing a group Subfen order, and initially they said minimum of 10 weeks, and I get it. It's a huge, massive custom order. It's going to take a while, and surely that it would take longer than that. But it took 21 weeks. That in and of itself wouldn't be an issue. Like, I get it. Things happen. Sometimes things take longer than expected. What's was a bit more annoying was the fact that customer service and communication has much to be improved. There were times where we would go, I think at one point, like a month and a half, where essentially Subfen basically ghosted us. Like, we had asked for an update, even if it meant a delay, and there just was radio silence for a while, which is it's not great in my view. I get that when you're a small team, then sometimes it takes a while to respond to emails, and also when you're working on a large order with all customized gear, that there are going to be delays. It can take a while, but to me it's good to let people know that, or keep customers informed about things, and they really didn't inform us until I started sending much more frequent emails. And then when the kit did arrive, I think 2 people were relatively happy with theirs. I'm relatively happy with mine, apart from, I think as I mentioned, the sleeves are a little bit long. That might be on me. But another member, their gear was completely wrong. I'm not talking off by a couple centimeters. I'm talking 20 centimeters bigger than what was ordered. And when we've explained this to Subfen and tried to basically see if we can resolve this, it has, again, taken much, much longer than it really should have. I would say several weeks at least. And again, large periods of just radio silence, which is not great. I know we also tried to leave comments on the Facebook page, and fun fact, those were deleted. So I get that companies like to keep their social media image clean, but to me it's not a great look. I tend to prefer the generic replying, "We're sorry for your poor experience, please email us at da-da-da-da." And, of the 2 shitty social media responses, I tend to prefer at least the performative reply, rather than just deleting negative comments. Because as far as I could tell, I mean, you can disagree, but none of us were, verbally abusive or anything. We were just frustrated about all the hassle. And also, how could I forget? One member in our group didn't even receive their order, 7 months later. Hello, Ashley from the future here. So there may be a slight update with this, tentatively positive. Since I recorded this, the owner of Subfen did reach out to us and supposedly sent us a new resized jacket and trousers that were a replacement for the ones that were messed up, along with the missing kit. So I don't know yet whether everything has been resolved, but fingers crossed on that. Ultimately, I still stand by everything that I said. I think Subfen has to significantly improve their customer service and their overall quality if they want a recommendation for me, or for me to recommend them to anyone. But I did just want to at least give some credit where it's due. Things do seem to be moving in a more positive direction than they were when I filmed this. I mean, some people have had decent experiences with Subfen, and maybe if you're kind of a standard size, it'll be okay. But honestly, for me, it is just not worth the hassle, not worth just not worth the experience. So if you're going to go with an Arkham jacket, I personally get it from Black Armory rather than Subfen. And if you don't want to get an Arkham jacket, then I'd say like a Spez or Red Dragon will be fine. Are those the main ones? Subfen, Spez, Red Dragon, Arkham. I'm sure there are others, but those seem to be the main ones. Please, if there are others, please put them in the comments below. But anyways, so those are my thoughts about the Arkham jacket. Overall, like, no HEMA jacket is going to be perfect, and there's still a few bits that thinking, oh, do I just need to break it in more, or is it something that maybe this isn't the jacket for me? But actually, on the whole, I do quite like it. There's just feels really nice, and if nothing else, because it means that once my jacket arrived, I finally get to spar with Steel. It had been way too long. Foam is great, foam buffers are good, but I have been enjoying sparring with Steel. And for some styles of fencing, maybe you don't need a whole lot of padding. Since I primarily do longsword, it is nice, I think, to have the extra padding. Just keep in mind that it might mean that you get hot very easily as well. And so I haven't yet figured out the art of sparring without overheating. Working on it. Sorry, hi, editing Ashley here. I realized that if I'm giving a review, I should probably try to give it some type of rating. So I guess, considering poor experience with Subfen and some of the personal, I guess, disadvantages that I've mentioned, I would give the Arkham jacket, let's say 4 out of 5. But I mean, it's like Whose Line Is It Anyway? The ratings are made up and they don't really matter anyway. But I guess if you need some type of rating number, there you go. So, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Feel free to give a like, comment if you have any constructive suggestions. Unconstructive suggestions will be ignored. Bigoted or abusive comments will be deleted. My house, my rules. If you don't like my rules, don't come into my house. I hope this was helpful. I know there aren't too many Arkham jacket reviews, at least not that I could find. Alright, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.